Finance Committee, which we're here today, and I'd like to especially welcome Murray Harrington, who's our independent member. Thank you for coming down, Murray, in person. We appreciate that. Are there any apologies today? I can see we're all here, so we have no apologies. I have one item of extraordinary business I'd like to introduce, and that will be item number 8, which will be a discussion with regards to the audit review, and I'd ask our team lead for that to give us a verbal report in public excluded, if that's okay. Thank you. Any other items of extraordinary business? No, thank you. We'll now move on to declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest?
Sorry, not a declaration of interest, but I'm happy to move that we accept that extraordinary item.
Oh, beg your pardon. Thank you, Liz.
Happy to second.
Thank you. I had a bit of hubris there, didn't I? So do we accept, do you want me to accept the extraordinary business? Any objections? No? Thank you. So we'll move on to item number 4, which is our annual plan 2026-2027 timetable. And can we start that on page 4, please? Who's going to talk us through this item? Helen. Right, thank you. You're going to do that, Tony?
Yes, thank you. I can do that. Yep. Great. So what you've got in front of you is the annual plan 2026-27 process timetable. So at the moment we're starting to prepare the budgets for the 26-27 financial year. In terms of the context of how it fits, so every 3 years we do a long-term plan. In the subsequent years, in year 2 and year 3, we do an annual plan, and that's an update to the budget in case anything has changed along the way. So the annual plan 26-27 is lining up with year 3 of the current LTP. Happy to take any questions, otherwise I can talk through it further if that's more helpful, but I'm conscious, I think it's pretty straightforward.
We have a question from Councillor Wilson, please.
With the indulgence of Council, would it be all right if we change the 27th of January meeting to the Thursday the 29th? I have a long-standing something, I'm going to the tennis, so I can't be in New Zealand at the same time, and I'd really like to be at the annual plan, so I feel like it helped the process. So I'm asking if we could change the 27th meeting of January to the 29th, if that would be available. Or
from an officer's perspective, that's no problem. We stuck to the principle of working on the Tuesday and the Wednesday meeting rhythm of council based on the adopted meeting schedule, but we're happy to change that if it suits everybody else.
Is everybody comfortable with that? Yeah. I may not be, but I'll inform you later. I'll have to try and sort that out. Inform you later about that. Thank you. We don't need a motion to move that, do we? It's just a note, really. Do we have any other questions for Tony on the annual plan? Anybody new to council have any questions for Tony on the annual plan? Richard?
yes. When will we receive the, in previous years we've received a big folder full of all the numbers for us to absorb and study vigorously over the summer break. When will we receive those numbers?
Thank you, through the chair. So our intention is that you'll receive those mid-January, so at least a week before the workshop on the 27th the 29th of January. We are considering, rather than giving you the big pack of every single cost centre, of doing it at a more aggregate level, but that will be determined based on the narrative and what we can explain along the way. With that,
Can I ask you a question? Can you explain to me what that means, a more aggregate level?
Thank you. Through the chair, we are looking at, rather than giving you hundreds and hundreds of pages, because we are making changes under those layers as well, which may make things confusing in terms of presenting potentially at an activity, a group of activity and a whole of council level that gives you the narrative to explain the variance between LTP year 3 and also the current annual plan year, so you would have those supporting explanations as to what the changes are, as well as an overview of the CAPEX program, so you'd see what the delivery of each of those CAPEX projects were as well. We thought it would be advisable to test that potential layout with the Mayor and Deputy Mayor and perhaps the Executive Committee before we went that far. But that is what we're looking at doing at the moment, so that we're not bombarding you with pages of information which actually might become quite confusing.
Councillor Todd?
Thank you. Just on page 5, you allude to being 2 or 3 weeks behind.
Can you speak up, Tony? I can hear you better.
On page 5, you allude to being 2 or 3 weeks behind. Like we all talk about AI and that sort of thing, how it can be helpful. Is AI a possibility, or is this work for real people rather than pushing a button?
Thank you. Through the chair, I think we'd all quite like to be able to push a button and have it magically appear. At the moment, it is the work for real people. So it's preparing the budgets, making sure we understand what has changed and understand the local context of what's happening, and then feeding that through into the big machine, which is what Helen and her crew do in finance to be able to spit out what the shakedown looks like.
Mayor Liz?
Thank you. I see you've got a Methven Community Board budget workshop, and I know in the past you've gone out to all the reserve boards and hall committees to kind of work on budgets. When will you be able to do that? Because I guess not all of them have had their inaugural meetings yet.
Thank you. Through the chair, you're correct. Every 3 years we end up in this weird time with our reserve and hall boards where they're busy still getting themselves set up and organised. So we've reviewed their budgets based on what we know of their work program going forward and what we've been reading in their minutes of what they've been planning to do, to make sure that we've tried and got enough in there, and then we'll send those drafts back out to the reserve boards as they're up and running in place to confirm. It will mean that it may be that when we talk to you later in January where we say this is the budget we've proposed, but this particular board is seeking X for X, and it becomes a council decision at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Richard?
Oh, sorry. Yes, as a numerical learner, I would call myself, not an English learner. I like the numbers because I follow the numbers up through, and that gives me the answers, and I look down at the bottom numbers and go, well, that's why it's happened. But if it's just it's a broad thing, this is what's gone up, that to me doesn't fulfill my inner desire to understand the numbers, if you understand what I mean. I liked all the numbers because I thought it was great. You could actually see where the costs had gone. You could really understand what was driving things rather than just being told that this is the way it is. So,
Through the chair, we can still provide you with plenty of numbers. I just think it's important that you get the right numbers so that you can make those decisions. So we can test that out with you and make sure that you're comfortable with the information you're getting.
I agree. I think the testing will be paramount to see, and perhaps the more people that test it, the better. Like, I also like to see the numbers, and we made, when we went through, like, for example, the climate change policy, we made certain commitments or not commitments that we were going to review line by line. So I think we need to just be cognizant of that, to keep an eye on that. And we did say that, but we can't comment till we see what you're offering. Russell?
Thank you, and sorry, in a similar vein, I suppose, are we going to be able to, this is going to be a difficult budget because as well as working to year 3 of the LTP, we've had a lot of government changes that are going to alter that budget totally out of our control. So we're going to be looking to save, 50,000 here and 100,000 there wherever we can. From the information you're going to supply, are we still going to be able to make those smaller savings, hopefully in lots of areas, which will add to the big picture, if you like, of what our rates increase will end up being?
You can be assured that staff are currently working at that level because we are zero basing it, but if you do have a desire to dig deeper beyond the information that we do give you at the time, then you are more than welcome to do that.
Councillor Moffat?
I noticed that there's no actual requirement for public consultation, but with these changes that have been mentioned, do you foresee that we will be doing a period of consultation on any changes so the public are kept up to speed?
Through the chair, right now we don't know. It will become clearer as we start to see what the magnitude of everything looks like when it's pulled together. And also running parallel to that, if there's any significant change to a work program, that is different to what we had said we were going to do with the community, that could trigger us to have to consult. So we have to kind of keep both pathways open right now. And council the budget may not be too fundamentally different, but council may still actually want to take the opportunity to have the conversation with the community. So we keep everything open until you guys are comfortable to make a decision.
Thank you. Murray?
Can you hear me? Or
Yep, absolutely.
don't want to necessarily cause too much of a debate, but if we all get into the detail of the numbers, we could get 15 different views. So I think it's just worth understanding that the higher level information, provided it's correct and accurate, is how we should be making decisions, rather than us all as a governance mechanism getting into the bowels of detail. So I understand everyone gets their comfort in different ways, but if the information is right at the appropriate level, I think we should be trying to make decisions off
Off the top of the higher level.
if we possibly can. So I know that probably serves to confuse, but that would be from my perspective how I think we should be approaching it. So we're making decisions off the same page, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, that does. And also, I'm particularly excited to see that you're looking at some rate monitoring software, so we'll be able to see more of an immediate picture of the impact decisions may have on the rates. I think that is wonderful, because that's been a challenge in the past. So I'm very excited about that. With regards to Julie's comment earlier and the need to consult, Tony, I'm concerned when we get the final figure for the new road, if it's, which it will be, markedly greater than what we've got in budget, I'm sure. Is it a money value, the need to consult, or otherwise, a dollar limit, or is it, how does that work, please?
With that particular project, it won't be around the dollar value triggering us. It'll be around how we propose to pay for it.
Okay.
And that follows a sort of a different pathway. So there isn't a magic number or a threshold that we could collectively meet that might make us have to consult. It almost becomes a bit of an assessment in the round, and this is where your knowledge of your local community is key, because you'll know what might be a particular hotspot, for example, that is actually worth the time of having the conversation and to consider other options.
Thank you. Hamish?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I just make two comments in relation to consultation? Firstly, just to underline that the decision to consult is council's. So all that the staff will be doing will be making a recommendation based on what they see, but you can decide to consult or not at your decision, to Councillor Moffat's question. Secondly, in referring to the second Ashburton Bridge, for the benefit largely of being a new council, the previous council did commit to consult the community on how the funding would be shared amongst ratepayers. So one of the questions that we're asking internally is whether or not we'll be far enough through that project for it to have an impact on the annual plan 26-27, or whether or not the impact won't be actually felt for ratepayers until year one of the LTP. But we would strongly recommend for your ultimate decision that either this annual plan or, and clearly with the LTP we do consult, you will have to specifically talk to the community about the funding impact on ratepayers of the road south of the new bridge. So you'll have to factor that into your decisions as you come to make them.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
Further to the Chief Executive's discussion there, when will we get to, because obviously it's easy when you follow your annual plan, it sort of falls out and you just roll on from where you've been, but because we've got Three Waters, because we've got the bridge, because we're under financial pressure from the government and economic situation out there, we need to cut. How will it be decided if some major cuts are made or there's some changes made? Because obviously once they're presented to us, that decision has not been made, but that decision to make that decision has almost been flagged. When will that decision be made? Like you talked about how the bridge is funded through roading. How do we get to that point that we've put our starting point in, option one as it was, rather than,
I think I understand the question. The first point is that the need to consult, or the requirement to consult, as I understand it, and Tony, correct me if I'm clumsy with my explanation, but the need to consult rests around how different the annual plan is from year 3 of the LTP. So you've already consulted on the LTP.
The year 3 implications for the community has already been through the consultation process and the council decision-making process. And so how different the annual plan is, either in quantum of money and therefore impact, or on some key projects either being added or deleted, would dictate our advice to you as to the need to consult. So think LTP year 3 and how close this annual plan reflects that. Then, of course, there's the other considerations that you might bring to bear. You might want to talk to the community about something that is you feel sensitive or contentious, even if it doesn't have a significant financial impact. You might want to, as I say, you're going to have to turn your mind to the second Ashburton bridge issue. Our own view at the moment would be that water alone doesn't drive that need for consultation through the annual plan, because you've already consulted as a council on water service delivery, and the implications for this annual plan on the funding of water are already spelled out in the water services delivery plan. So we don't think water, albeit it may be different to year 3 of the LTP, would be sufficient for our recommendation alone. But then you might wish to. So all these things will come in to the process. The key thing, I think, Tony, is that until we can get all the budget work aggregated and you can see the impact of everything in total, it'll be very hard to get a sense of when you'll be able to make that decision. But certainly part of the process in the new year, as you come to grips with the budget, understand it, and get it into a position where you are happy to propose it or adopt it, you will then turn your mind to, is it sufficiently different? Are there sufficient reasons? Have you got other reasons? Is there enough compelling factors that would make you decide to consult, either on our recommendation or at your own will?
Thank you, Hamish. Do we have any more comments on the annual plan timetable, or indeed the I beg your pardon, Russell?
Thank you. Just if there is no need for hearings, would we change those last 2 dates and bring them forward, just so that we tick off our annual plan earlier than anticipated if there's no need for hearings?
Through the chair, potentially yes, if there's no one wanting to come in and be heard. But we do need to offer the opportunity for someone to come and speak. Yeah.
We have a recommendation here. If we are going to be flexible with regards to the dates, do we need to alter that recommendation, or how do we do that? Or do we just move the recommendation as is and accept that dates may change or otherwise?
Yes, I'm comfortable with you adopting or receiving. All you're doing is receiving the tentative timetable at this point in time. Yeah.
Does anybody have any further questions for Tony? No? Is anybody happy to move that recommendation? Thank you, Russell. Do we have a seconder? Tony, all in favour? Against? Great, thank you. Thanks, guys. So now we'll move on, please, to page, just toggle on down here. Page 8, Management of Accounts Receivable, item number 5. Loretta? She would only say. Welcome, Loretta. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Would you like to talk us through your report, please?
Well, generally speaking, it's pretty similar to other reports, but I can say, accounts receivable reports, but I do see there are new council members here. So this just gives us a breakdown of all of our accounts receivable as at that date, September, and sort of highlights anything greater than 3 months that we really need to see and follow up. And yeah, so also on the second page, I've given a breakdown on the 9 greatest outstanding, and of those 9, 2 are now paid, just as an update for that. And since we've had this debt management company looking after our debt, especially in rates, we've seen a significant reduction in our rates owing, so that's really positive news.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions, Russell?
Thank you. I assume the items there in brackets are credits.
Correct.
So in the 3-month column, if you take the credits out, actually we're owed about another 125,000 above the 390 because the credits are offsetting some of those debtors. So the true level is actually a bit higher than that. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So I've had a look into some of those credits. A number of them are quite straightforward to remedy. They are just the largest ones are funds received for grant funding that we give out. So we're just going to raise those invoices this month, and that should tidy up a majority of those, and following up on some which are a bit harder to get the information for. But
It's just, it is a little bit confused because our true debtors really sit at about another 125,000 above that 390.
yes, noted, and we will endeavour to reduce and minimise those going forward.
Phil,
Thank you. Loretta, Council engages DMC to manage the outstanding debtor invoices. 17 are currently default listed with Vita, a credit agency. At what stage do they flip over to Vita? And why doesn't DMC do the whole gig?
DMC goes as far as they possibly can, and so after chasing up via phone call, telephone, letters, and receiving no correspondence back, they're left with that's the only result, and that will affect the individual or the company's credit rating. So no one really wants to go that far, but after we've done everything we can, we pass it on, they do everything they can within their power. That's the final step.
So is DMC a cheaper option for us? It just seems they're sort of in the middle. Why don't we just go straight to the credit agency?
It's my understanding that it's really a last resort. There's no further recall from there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Todd.
Thank you. The rental debtors, does that mainly relate to Glasgow lease, is it?
It will include those, correct?
Okay, yeah. So I thought that being a regular payment, there'd be an automatic payment or something like that, wouldn't there be?
It includes commercial properties as well. So,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
Glasgow will be regular.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Current sundry debtors are reasonably high. Can you give me just an idea of what sundry debtors are, please?
They're credit, aren't
Sundry debtors is everything that doesn't come under the other groups.
Do you have any off the top of your head that you could?
I'm just trying to think of the one that I have that's now paid. I won't name them, but so we've got property developers. So I'd have to look at. Sometimes property developers will come under applications in areas like that in building, but and then we include other agencies, so Ministry of Social Development, Department of Internal Affairs, things like that. So there's a very wide variety. It's a catch-all.
Okay.
Would you normally worry about current? Are they debtor? Like they're not late if they're current. I wouldn't have thought.
No, correct.
Yeah.
So
So
they're not to be worried.
No, they're not
concerned about.
Just one question before I go to you, Deb. When we look at our water billing and some of our other large debtors at 3 months, is that because those accounts are in dispute, or what? I don't understand. We've got building and resource consents. I would have thought we would have charged for the building and resource consents when, like, they would have paid them as they go along.
I might let Ian just, because it's very specific how they pay and invoice in that area.
Yeah, so no, through the chair, sometimes both building and resource consents do have further charges, and of course it's invoiced, but it may not have been paid yet. So sometimes, for whatever reason, there is a delay in payment, but it's not all paid up front.
So when you give them the resource consent, it's not paid the day, you don't invoice straight away that day and get the payment.
In the case of resource consents, oftentimes if it's a complicated case, there will be, for example, commissioner or consultants' costs or export reports.
I
Which may
see, so
come in
they're
after.
delayed coming in
Yes,
and you're passing them on. I
Yes, that's
understand.
right.
That makes good sense, thank you. Councillor Gilkison.
My question is just around, at a higher level, do you notice any trends with outstanding debt? So we can see that there was 59 last versus 78. Oh no, sorry, 78 and 59 now. But in a higher sense, do you notice any trends for outstanding debts?
If we're comparing year on year, we're looking better than we did the year before because of using external debt management agency. So that's positive. Other sort of feedback, obviously with tighter economic times, there may be those small individuals like rates, but we are now sending any large overdue rates to the debt management, so it seems to be catching those. For a long time they were just put to the side because we didn't have the resources to follow up. So I would say economic times does make it tough, and so maybe a little bit of influence, but if we're on top of it and chasing, it seems to be keeping it under control.
Cool.
Thank you. Murray, you have a question?
It's on a similar theme. Broadly speaking, I should know this turns into bad debts last year of this number. Do we know what are we thinking will be? What's the provision for? What's not ultimately come through?
Yeah, from an annual report perspective, it's a process. Or Helen might be able to say better, but it's a process where we'll go to the individual departments and go, now of these debts which are currently sitting outstanding and that are greater than 90 days, do you expect these to be paid at all? And if you think not, then we will do an accounting entry to move them off the debtors to a provision for debts.
Do you know what that number was last year, just as a roughly, not holding you to anything in terms of?
It was on the smaller side. I would be able to bring it up, but it would take a little bit of time.
Perhaps you could report back later on in the meeting, Loretta, if that's all right. Thank you. Any other questions or any comments to make? No, thank you. We have a recommendation. Who would like to move the recommendation, please? Thank you. Are you making a comment, Richard, or are you moving the recommendation? Thank you. Seconder? Thanks, Phil. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to the Bancorp Treasury Report, which is item 6. Welcome back. No, you're going again. Are you doing that, Helen? Yeah. Thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to read that? How would you want to progress, Helen? Do you want to discuss it in general terms, or do you want to take questions?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll probably just highlight the Treasury breach that we have around liquidity. So we did repay the $10 million that we drew down just before year end, which was to meet our Treasury limits, which took us over 110% for our Treasury, for our liquidity, sorry. The repayment of that, despite the fact that we are sitting on quite a bit of cash around that rate's due date, and being at the beginning of the year, our liquidity has dropped below the 108%. Sorry, to 108% below the 110%. So we are breaching the control limit there on liquidity. But we will, over the next couple of weeks, look to secure a line of credit, which will remedy that. And it will actually be a cheaper method of securing that liquidity rather than actually drawing down cash and just having it sitting there in the bank.
You may recall at our meeting last September we approved the line of credit. So in future there'll be fewer, I would suggest fewer breaches. Would that be right, Helen?
Absolutely,
So that'll be great moving forward. Any other questions of the Bancorp report? I have a comment to make, Helen. The average cost of funds is reducing. Does this improve the cost of financing, and have we looked at like our ratio of fixed versus floating debt and things as a result of that, or are we mandated to keep that sort of 30-70 ratio, or how does that work?
So we're still required essentially to stay within the bounds of how much is fixed and how much is floating, and we do use our Treasury advisors to look at when rates are good, if they're good in the longer term, to lock those in, or to let things roll into floating if we benefit from that. Being, a local authority, we are required to be pretty conservative, and that's why our limits are conservative. The 3.5, I'm trying to remember the number, 3.52, 3.53, that is not a historical number, so it's a cost of funds going forward, and obviously that moves as the market moves at that point in time.
I think it's going down to 3.4 or something, they're predicting or something. I think it's here in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other comments? Anybody got a comment to make on the Treasury report? No, it's quite interesting reading. Okay, we have a recommendation here. Does anybody want to move that we accept the report, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mayor Liz. Second, thank you, Russell. Thank you. Do we all? What's wrong? Oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Just doing that now. Do we all in favour of accepting the motion? Any against? Thank you. Okay, now I think that concludes our open part of the meeting. We'll now move into public excluded. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Russell and thank you. Oh, thanks, Deb. Deb Gilkison, thank you. I've got to learn to move my eyes around. Thank you.